Today is a very exciting day on the tiny house because it is finally time to build an internal stud wall. Before I get on and build that, I first need to tidy up the tiny house because I am tripping over everything. And it really is amazing how much happier you feel when a site is actually tidy and organized. The only issue with that is in about 2 days it will look exactly the same again, and then you inevitably have to tidy up again. Now when it comes to internal stud walls, it's actually fairly simple. It's just your run-in-the-mill 4x2 stud wall with a floor plate, a ceiling plate, the stud goes in between. Just got to ensure that they're at 40cm centers, building the wall where you actually want the wall to go, and there's not really too much you can mess up on. Now having said that, there is something else that you need to bear in mind, and that is, did you plan it all properly initially when you're doing all of the floor joists? Because normally internal walls need to go on a double joist because that's a lot of weight in timber, and therefore a single joist won't really carry that weight very well. In comparison to a double joist, there's now 2 of them, and therefore that will offer quite a lot of support. You've got 2 options. You can either lay all of your flooring down and then put the stud wall on top of the flooring, or you can build straight off from the floor joist. Now the differences between the two aren't really anything that substantial. I mean, ideally I think I'd like to have all of the plywood flooring down, but because of this idiot who decided they wanted to have a built into the ground hot tub bath instead of just a normal shower tray that would take 5 minutes to install, it's kind of meant that I can't really lay the plywood down. There's an issue that arises by not having the plywood down and putting a stud wall straight up off of the double joist, and that is that the floor plate will cover the entire double joist. Now you might be thinking, Chris, what is the issue with that? Well, when it comes to then lay the floor down in the bathroom, what is going to carry that edge bit of floorboard? How is it going to be supported if the entire double joist is taken up by that floor plate? If you were to just lay the floor down normally, one, you wouldn't get a fixing with the screw, but every time you walked into the bathroom, if that floorboard is not supported, the plywood would flex, and that movement would cause cracking on any tiles that you had. It'd be a really bad situation to have. So to counter this, you just need to add a bit of 4x2 to the edge of the double joist, just so that a floorboard can then rest on it, you can get a fixing, and there will be no flex when you're walking into the bathroom. This will work perfectly for my bathroom, but if you don't think through these things, it can really lead to some interesting situations where suddenly you can't put drainage pipes, copper pipes, because suddenly you've had to add a bit of 4x2 where you initially didn't think you needed to. But I do just want to say, you can always figure out a way around anything, no matter how badly you mess something up. I mean, most of the houses that my brother and me have bought have been seriously messed up, and when you're taking apart other builders' work, it's pretty amazing what you find, and you can't believe that this house has stood there for so long. So for sure, you've got to do your research and plan things and think ahead. But I just want to keep reiterating to you, paid professionals can severely mess things up. Like I said the other day, I've had people who you think, oh, I'm paying a decent amount of money, you've got tons of experience, you should be good at your job, and then when you see the work you think, oh, I might as well have done this myself. And that is a really frustrating feeling when you go, oh, I should have just done it myself. I would have saved money, saved time, and the stress element. In fact, that is a big reason I do so much work myself, is I love being accountable for myself. If I mess up, it's on my terms. And of course, there are brilliant trades out there, but there is this common theme where the best trades end up becoming very successful, and then they go, do you know what, I might as well just be a developer myself. And I'd say that almost a majority of the developers I know, they don't set out to become a developer. Some of them will be a plumber and then they start earning real good money and they go, do you know what, I'm going to invest this in a property. Don't actually have the cash to renovate it. So after work, I'm just going to teach myself and just give it a go. Because honestly, you've just got to do your research, plan it all out, and then just start it. Doesn't mean there aren't confusing moments. I mean, you're seeing that definitely with me. I have absolutely no idea with what I'm doing with this bath, but you've just got to get used to being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and then eventually that becomes the new norm. And after a long period of time of doing it, it really doesn't have any effect on you. The one thing I really know about myself and my brother is we can deal with a lot of stress compared to, say, a person who's been wrapped in bubble wrap their entire life. And it's pretty interesting is when you get to know like the people who are at the top of, say, like the financial industry, the people who actually employ everybody, you realise that the things that people deem to be like, oh, you've got to go to Oxford, Cambridge, you've got to do your CFA and all of that, Mate, nobody cares about that stuff. If you're just a real person, you've got real experience, it's amazing how far you can get. And in actual fact, this is a statement that a fund manager told me, which he doesn't want to employ people who studied economics at university. So if you don't know, finance, The school system will say, oh, if you want to get into finance, you need to study economics or something along those lines, with the aim of maybe one day getting into an investment bank and then earning loads of money. Well, there's a few factors you need to consider. One, this fund manager and other people that I know at Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, wherever, they all have told me, and these people are in super senior positions, they said that the reason they don't look for people who study economics is economics students think like economics students, and therefore you're going to get a market of replica employees. They will say the same answers to the same things. They will regurgitate the same information they've been taught. Whereas if you get somebody who's got a background in, say, architecture or civil engineering, or my favourite example is this personal trainer that I know who was training in London clients who work in investment banks who are wearing Patek Philippe's, APs, the lot, and he was earning maybe 40 grand a year. And one day when he was training with one of his clients, he goes, what do I need to get your job right now? And the guy goes, well, what's your background? He goes, well, I've done sports science or something at university. And his client, who worked in finance, was like, okay, well, that's going to be kind of a little bit difficult because you've got zero experience in the financial industry. But the CFA, which honestly means absolutely nothing. If you work in finance, do not waste your time doing it. It is genuinely a set of exams for a lot of people who are chasing some academic gratification, and they can put it at the bottom of their email and think they're it. The reality is whenever the top people in the financial industry see CFA, they automatically think, oh, you're not going to be able to impress me on your own merit, because you yourself aren't that impressive. It's savage, but it's true. Except for the exceptions. For example, this personal trainer, he did the IMC and then he did CFA, and now he's a fund manager. You are always one decision away from a completely different life. Nothing is guaranteed, ever. And by the way, the thing that allowed him to get that end job in finance was the fact that it's him. People invest in people, not your qualifications. And I don't think school ever stresses this enough. You can have 16,000 A stars in whatever exams, but if the person who's interviewing you gets along way better with somebody who's got 3 C's and goes, do you know what, I'm going to be sat next to this person for the next 5 years. I would much rather sit next to this person than that person with 25 A stars. Remember, I ended up getting a job in finance and I have the worst grades out of anyone I've ever met. And the thing is, I know I'm ranting, but I'm passionate about this. Try and riddle me this one. These people in finance, right, they go through all of school. They go GCSE, A-levels, university, IMC exam, CFA. CFA is basically like a university degree. It's disgusting. It's really difficult. And then it's not only that, it's also the cash investment of the university degree mixed with the time invested opportunity, and to, in most cases, get on a 70, 80, 90 grand salary. Mush, I know a crane driver who makes 125,000 a year. In fact, I brought that up to a colleague of mine. I was on like the 9th floor of my building and there was a crane moving stuff about, and I heard this little rat go, God, could you imagine having that job? You should have worked harder at school, all of that chat. And I said, what do you mean work harder at school? And he goes, well, you know, he like clearly hasn't worked very hard because he works as a crane driver. And I go, well, my mate works as a crane driver. You got to do fair bit of qualifications, but he earns over 100 grand doing it. And then this little womble goes, oh, okay, well, it's good money, but you're just stuck in a crane all day. I mean, you're up in the sky, just sat down. And I go, well, how's that any difference to us? I mean, we're on the 9th floor right now, sat down, looking at a computer screen. How is his day any different? Oh, wait, there's actually quite a big difference, because I know that I'd much rather be a crane driver than sat doing basically nothing. I spend so much time when I'm working thinking about the whole white collar, blue collar thing, about how if you have an office day job and you say you're a lawyer, a doctor, you work in finance, the world has a certain response. And because I've experienced both worlds, it really is noticeable, and it's not just me thinking it. If I say to somebody, oh, I'm a builder, you get one reaction. If I say I work in finance, you get a completely different reaction. It really is interesting. Now, you might be thinking, Chris, why did you put those bits of wood in between the ceiling joists? And the reason you do that is to carry the ceiling plate. Those pieces of timber, which are called noggins. Noggins are pieces of wood that go in between a floor joist, ceiling joist, whatever. It's a very simple process. I've got 2 internal stud walls, one for the bathroom and one separating the kitchen and the bedroom. And then within the kitchen living area, it is all going to be open plan, because my thought process behind that, I want my my line of sight to be as great a distance as possible, and therefore it's going to make a tiny house feel a lot bigger. If you enjoyed this video, like it, subscribe if you're new, and Google Have Some Vision Substack. You will not regret it. Trust me, there's a link in the description as well. Click it, sign up now, and as always, I will see you tomorrow in a bit.